Before I start this video, I want to give a shout out to Cinemassacre for the inspiration for this video. They made a video titled Top 10 Popular Films I Don't Love, where the owner of the channel, James Rolfe, talks about 10 highly rated films he personally doesn't enjoy as much as the general public. Great video, go check it out, and check out his channel too. Very funny and engaging content. But after I saw this video, I was like, why don't I make a similar list with anime? And of all the anime I've watched in my lifetime, there are definitely some that I didn't enjoy that others did. So here's a top 5 list of highly rated anime that I don't love. And here's a disclaimer. This is all just my opinion, so don't be shocked if one of your favorite animes shows up on this list. You may have enjoyed it, and that's good, but I personally didn't as much as you. And that's okay. Everyone has their own subjective opinions. But with that, let's get into number 5. At number 5, I'm going to start off with a whole series, and that's the Monogatari series. This series follows a guy named Koyomi Araragi who, after being turned into a vampire, runs into other people who had these quote-unquote oddities, or really strange features. Honestly, I'm still confused as to what the plot's about. I understand the appeal of this series, and trust me, when I watched this series, I was intrigued with it too. There's a reason why I didn't drop it after the first few episodes. I like the art and the experimental features, and it got a bit scary at some times. But in terms of anime I will remember for the rest of my life, I don't think this is one of them. It's a very complicated anime to get into, and there's a lot of dialogue that you need to understand completely in order to understand the show. It's a very quote-unquote artsy anime. You don't see many like it out there. But I personally wasn't interested with what the series was trying to do, and it just wasn't something that was very memorable to me. I do encourage anyone who's interested in this series to give it a try, and I do understand why most of the parts in the Monogatari series are rated so high on my anime list, but honestly, this was an anime outside my element, and when that's the case, it can be really hard for me to enjoy it. But if you did enjoy the Monogatari series, please let me know in the comments why you enjoyed it. Maybe I can rewatch it again, and maybe I'll enjoy it more. Alright, with that, on to the next one. At number 4, we have Mushishi. This anime is about a man named Ginkgo who travels around and helps people affected by these supernatural creatures called Mushi. When I first heard about this anime, I was told that this anime would be so calm, it would put you to sleep. Well, it was calm, but it was a bit too calm for me. The start of this anime was really slow, and I couldn't get through the first few episodes. I never understood why people liked this anime so much. This is something I'd have to view again, but when I watched the show at the time, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if it was because I was watching a lot of action anime at the time and I just wanted to watch something similar to that, but this one just didn't do it for me for some reason. I really do like the aesthetic and the art. I think it's super nice and very appealing, and I really wanted to like this series. But like the Monogatari series, I felt like this one was also out of my element. I can't even remember most of what I watched because it was kind of boring and slow for me. I do need to give this anime a second chance, but as of now, it's something I particularly didn't enjoy. This is something I see highly rated on my anime list, especially the second season, which I haven't seen yet, but maybe one day I'll come back to this anime and love it like you all did. But until then, we're gonna get to number 3. At number 3, we have Re:Zero. This anime is about a guy named Natsuki Subaru who dies in the real world and gets spawned into a fantasy world. In this world, he goes on many quests and meets new people. But one thing that happens to him is that every time he dies, he goes back to the moment where he first spawns in the world. Kind of like Edge of Tomorrow, but if it was more fantasy oriented and the main character isn't a soldier and you get transported to another world. Now, before I talk about this series, just so you guys know, I only saw season 1 of this series. I know seasons 2 and 3 are better, but when I was watching season 1, I just didn't enjoy it. I liked the premise, but I didn't like how it was carried out. I especially didn't like the main character, Subaru, who just seemed very annoying. I bet he gets better as the seasons go on, but when I watched the show, I just wasn't interested in his character. And Amelia didn't have much to offer either, considering she was a main character too. And honestly, none of the other characters were memorable either. They all seemed like carbon copies of other anime characters. And I never really knew what the main plot was for Re:Zero. It seemed like the story would always get sidetracked, and it was also very confusing at some points. But then again, I see why other people would enjoy this anime. It has a very dark atmosphere, and its high rank on IMDb and my anime list proves that. I definitely need to consider viewing this one again when I have the time, but until then, we're gonna go on to number 2. At number 2, we have Star Blazers, Space Battleship Yamato. This is the modern reboot of the classic space series, Space Battleship Yamato by Leiji Matsumoto, which follows a group of humans who have to take a voyage across the universe to the planet Iskandar in order to find a new home, and possibly save their own planet, Earth. While doing this, they are in a war with an alien race called the Gamilas. Now, I haven't watched the original Space Battleship Yamato, but I bet it was pretty good for its time. But after watching the reboot, I just didn't see any uniqueness with the anime. It seemed like your typical sci-fi anime with space travel and guys working together, like Star Trek. I didn't think the fights were all that interesting. The events were very predictable, and things like the relationship between the main characters Kodai and Yuki were emphasized way too much. I've seen sci-fi anime that were very plot-driven and unpredictable, like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, And I thought this anime would be just like that based on the story. I even see Star Blazers compared to Legend of the Galactic Heroes, so I expected Star Blazers to be on the same level as Legend of the Galactic Heroes. But what I got was something that was overhyped and slow, lacking the emotion of Matsumoto's other successful stories, like Galaxy Express 3-9. I don't hate this anime either. I got through the first 2 seasons, but compared to other sci-fi space operas, this one was very predictable. And I've tried to rewatch certain episodes and even the recap movie of the first 2 seasons, but I was still not interested in the show's plot. And now we have my number 1 anime that's highly rated that I personally don't love. And I may get some hate for this one. It's Psycho Pass. This anime is about a system that apprehends criminals before they commit crimes, kind of like the movie Minority Report, but the anime version. There's this tool called a Dominator that's handled by inspectors, which analyzes a person's crime coefficient. This is a number that measures their likelihood of committing a serious crime. If the number is too high, the target gets killed or is arrested. If their number is too low, they aren't considered a target and can go free. There are these guys called enforcers that assist inspectors in their duties, and all enforcers are convicted criminals. In this world, a guy named Shogo Makishima comes along, and he commits very terrible acts, but he can get away with all of it because his crime coefficient is super low to the point where the Dominators can't even touch him. Now, before I talk about the reasons why I don't love this anime, I gotta say, Makishima is one of my favorite anime villains of all time, as my favorite character in the show. Akane Tsunemori, the main inspector, and Shinya Kogami, her enforcer, are also really great characters. The first season was pretty good, but when the second season started, that's when the series took a turn for the worse. First of all, Tsunemori wasn't even the main hero after season 1. She was a side character to the annoying character, Mika Shimotsuki. How can I describe Shimotsuki? She's spoiled, rude, and overall a very annoying character. She would get mad at all the enforcers if a job didn't go her way, and she seemed to hate everyone that wasn't on her side. I don't know, I really did not like her. And Tsunemori was her mentor, taking a back seat to her character. I didn't see much of Tsunemori after season 1, and I didn't see much of Kogami either. Not to mention, Makishima isn't in the other seasons. Why would you take a greatly crafted villain and leave him out for the rest of the series? It's like if you had Monster with no Johan, or Code Geass with no Lelouch. I watched the rest of the series and some of the OVAs, but I can't remember anything from those parts of the show. If Psycho Pass ended right when season 1 ended, this would be one of my favorite animes of all time. But it didn't, and it dragged out this story to the point where it became irrelevant. This anime is at my number 1 on this list because it truly made me emotional how bad it got. And the thing is, that's most of the entire show after season 1. I've seen so many reviews of this series being one of the best in the sci-fi and seinen genres, and trust me, I really wanted to enjoy this series as a whole, but what I got was a series that overstayed its welcome. If you're interested in this series, you should definitely watch it, but just don't expect a lot after season 1. That's going to be it for this video. If your favorite anime was on the list, I'm sorry, I didn't enjoy it as much as you did. Just know that these are all my opinions, and none of this is meant to be taken seriously. This is just me talking about my thoughts on certain anime. If you're interested in watching any of these series, don't be discouraged by this video. Go and watch them. You may like them better than I did. And for everyone who has seen these shows, what do you think of them? Do you like these anime or do you not? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, consider giving this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps out a lot. Until then, I'll see you all in the next one.